things that I wanted to add, but I'm also having the slow internet connection, so I'm going to stay off camera if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine, Melissa. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to, excuse me, point out the few changes that I made to the update from the February 23rd draft that I provided to council. So I did add $320 to the arena revenue. I decreased the Northern Works from $10,000 to $7,500 as per their presentation at last council meeting. And I added $23,607 into the water revenue as per council's direction. I do want to talk about the hazardous waste. I did mention that it cost township approximately $9,000. We did get our money in from the 2021 reimbursements, and we did get $13,154 as opposed to the $11,000 that they had told us we were going to get. And we still have money coming in, a little bit of money for oil filters and antifreeze. So right now it cost us $7,277 for the hazardous waste day last year. Gail and I met today with food cyclers, and they were talking to us about different grant avenues that we could go towards to apply for. And I think at this point, they're pretty much looking for council's commitment for a minimum dollar amount or a maximum dollar, how much council would be able to contribute to the project. We had mentioned maybe between $5,000 to $10,000, if at all. And actually, they're going to see if they could keep the minimum cost to a minimum for the township, and maybe go for 100% coverage. So maybe Gail would like to speak to that a little bit more following my updates. I also wanted to mention that there was a mistake in the municipal draft levy page that I had provided. I did the update, and the proper amount was on the council agenda. So I had indicated previously that our municipal levy last year was $1,962,840, and it was actually $1,958,120. So I had already calculated in the 2022 assessment values prior to providing that amount to council. So that amount has been corrected. I wanted to bring council's attention that we received invoice from CN today for yesterday for the Fifth Avenue crossing repairs. It was $440,000. CN had indicated that we're responsible for 100%. I did reach back out to them and indicated that we were supposed to be paying 12.5% of that invoice, and I was told that the expenses are not associated with the grant. However, there is a new representative, CN representative for us, so I'm not entirely sure that that is accurate. And further to the CN discussion, I just wanted to bring back to council's memory that we do have another one coming up for CN that we don't have in the budget for the Becker Road crossing, which they're estimating to be approximately $200,000, and they're expecting us to pay 50% of that portion. And the ball field, our public works manager has estimated that to move the ball field, it's going to cost about $138,000. And we currently have approximately $76,000 in the budget. So the estimate that the public works manager has come up with is almost doubled. So it's 61,000 approximately above what's in the budget. So I was thinking that maybe we could consider doing the sod next year at a cost of $55,000. And last but not least, I reached out to the fire department, which is the chief, And I asked him if he had wanted to say anything at the council meeting this evening, as he wasn't going to be able to be here. And I had mentioned to him that we were increasing the travel and training, and that council had mentioned some kind of written commitment or agreement to have the firefighters trained to stay on the force. And then I also mentioned about the fire hall budget to do replacements, and I'll just read verbatim what he said. I received the email, and it seems that there are questions about raising the training budget from 15,000 to 20,000 for the fire department, and also about retention. I will not be able to attend this meeting and would like to give you a little bit of information. The training budget was 25,000 and was reduced to 15,000 after COVID hit because we canceled our attendance to 12 weeks of course by 3 people due to not being able to travel, and to temporary closure of the Ontario Fire College. The money was given back to the municipality to be used elsewhere. Attached is a 130-page report submitted by the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs to the Ontario Fire Marshal regarding the proposed firefighting training legislation. It lists many of our local problems with this legislation. If you remember, this became legislation a few years ago, and Doug Ford canceled it when he took over as Prime Minister. In this report, a fire department with 60 paid volunteers calculated that their cost of training was approximately $2,800 per member per year, and that under the proposed legislation, their costs would increase to approximately $12,000 per year for new members. We are far behind in what we need to meet the new legislation. We are a relatively young department with a very high turnover and many new members. I have spoken with the fire marshal's advisor for our area and listed the problems we have and we will have, and he said that we certainly are not alone. He has received many calls from the small fire departments with the same issues and complaints. I have quickly researched and came up with some calculations. I researched where there are vacancies, where we could sign up for many of the necessary courses and within a short period of time. Some courses I was able to find in Sault Ste. Marie, Marathon, and Thunder Bay, but most of the courses only had availability in Southern Ontario, usually in the Toronto and Ottawa area. The following is a quick list of courses we need to have by at least 1 or 2 people in the fire department. This list is not everything we need, but a quick search. 2 pumper drivers, pumper operator, officer 1 for 3 days, officer 2 for 3+ days, officer 3 for 3+ days, officer 4 likely 3+ days, inspection course ×4 for 1 person, incident safety officer 2 days for 2 people, trainer 1 3 days 2 people, trainer 2 3 days 1 person, first aid 2 days for 20 people, chainsaw and working from heights 1 day for 20 people. Many other necessary courses can be taken online with the Ontario Fire College. Each course listed must have a minimum of 2 days travel added to them, except for the first aid and chainsaw working at high school courses. A quick calculation of the cost to send people on these courses comes to approximately $146,000. I'm sure we can save a little on mileage if we can find some of these courses closer to home, but the savings will not be substantial. As listed in the report, the required training hours of firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 comes to approximately 280 hours per person. This kind of training would be next to impossible to do on practice nights, given the attendance of the trainers and the firefighters. Due to the hours of shifts and life on the railroad, most of our faithful firefighters have approximately 50% attendance or less. If we were to send 15 people away for firefighter 1 and 2, that would cost us approximately $10,800 per person. For 15 people, it would total approximately $162,000. According to the new legislation requirements, all these qualifications would need to be achieved by July 1st, 2026. The total cost of sending everyone away would be approximately $146,000 plus $162,000, which equates to $308,000 by July of 2026, which is approximately $770,000 per year for the next 4 years. Some training can be done in-house and online, but for the most of the courses listed, we would have to send people away for the first list totaling 146,000. As for firefighter 1 and firefighter 2, we can try to work more evenings and weekends to train people and bring some trainers in to help, and then have them have a proctor for academic standards and evaluations come in and conduct the final testing. There are many suggestions being put forth by the OFM. There is a lot of information out there, and I'm waiting to see what happens. As for retention, this is a huge problem everywhere. I have been very frugal in not sending many people away until they reveal their faithfulness, but the new legislation would take that away from me. Many of the common problem amongst fire department.
Be able to get a copy of that, please?
Yeah, for sure. And that's about it. Gail, did you want to speak a little bit further on the food cycler?
Was that directed at Gail? I missed that.
Yeah, I can say a couple of things, but before I go on to that, I just want to say I participated also in one of the OFM webinars, which was actually quite technical, and they didn't hand out or provide the slide deck, of course, before the webinar, so it was kind of hard to follow along. But essentially, the fire marshal said everybody should be where they're at, and this shouldn't cause a lot of changes for everybody, because technically you should only be providing the services. You should be training your department for only the level of service that you're providing to your community. And if that level of service is too high, then the established and regulating bylaw should be reviewed, and that's set to whatever council deems that the level of service they want or can provide to the community. So that's easy to say, but for a lot of these volunteer, I think that's a real big blanket statement, and it makes sense rationally when you hear it, but I think it's still difficult for all the small volunteer fire departments, because especially one like ours, because it is a transient population, and we do have a good participation in the fire department, but people get transferred. So even if they are trained, sometimes you have to train other people. So I don't know if that statement necessarily, I understand it, but I don't really know if it actually fits us. And then with regard to the food cycler, what we talked about today, or what they talked about today, was basically they have 4 funding avenues that they're looking at. One is Trillium, excuse me, which would be 100% funded if they got that money. One is grassroots growth, which they figure we might have a good chance at with regard to our 2A partnership with the local farm. One's a Green Municipal Fund, and that has to be, they haven't approached the Green Municipal Fund yet, I don't think. And then there's another one called Environmental Climate Change Services Stream, and that's a much bigger, it would have to be for several municipalities. The minimum you can apply for is $1 million, and the max is 25 million. So that would be something that would be done as a partnership with other communities. Excuse me. So basically, Melissa's right. They are, I think if they're going to move forward with applying for some of these funds on our behalf, well, we would have to actually apply, but they're going to prepare the applications. They'll have to know how much council is willing to commit, if any. And just say this Trillium's 100% up to 75,000. The fund, we can get up to 80%, and the max is 500,000. So they weren't entirely sure on which ones were stackable or not. That still has to be determined. What their aim is to get 100% coverage, of course, and that may very well be the case. And Impact Canada, I don't think they can weigh in much on it until they get
Gail, I
a little
can't
bit
hear.
farther with their other funding programs by the sounds of it. So anyways,
Gail?
it's kind of where it's at, that you weren't going to agree to anything.
Can you turn your
Yeah.
video off? We lost that last.
Can't hear me?
one. Yeah, you froze up and then we lost the last probably just 2 minutes of what you were talking about.
Okay, so did you hear me saying that the trillium was a max of 75,000?
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the Green Municipal Fund was 80% to a max of 500,000, and then from there.
Okay. Okay, so the environmental climate change services stream is a larger one that would have to only be applied to with a variety of municipalities, because the minimum to apply for is $1 million and the maximum is 25 million. Excuse me. So that's something that they'll have to see how many communities they get, I guess. So the aim is to have everything 100% covered. They're still looking into which programs are stackable. And what else was I going to say? I did say something else, but now I'm not sure. I don't remember what it was. Oh, I just said to them that like council is going to either, you're not going to agree to anything without knowing what it's going to cost you. So either you're going to choose an amount that you're willing to put towards it, and then if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, or you're not going to choose not to participate. So I think before they apply for anything on our behalf, they're going to have to know that. And the other thing is they had asked for an in principle, a letter of support for the that environmental climate change services stream, because there's an expression of interest that's due on late March. I don't have the date written down, but late March. And there's no commitment required or anything, but then they'll see if they get invited to put an actual application in, which would be happening in May. The invitation would come in May. So that's what I had to add there. I think that's oh, one other thing they mentioned was she asked if we had a credit union here, and suggested that, well, actually, they're going to look into it. I'm just going to get the contact, but they have the community-based funds available. So she thought that might be a good connection as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Gail. I know in the notes that the treasurer provided, it's showing 30,500. So is that that would be the net cost if they got the lowest amount of funding?
That's based on the grant that's 50% funded.
50% funded, okay. And that's for the 200, we were looking at the 200, right? 200 people participating?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, another question, the Trillium application, when would they find out if they were successful or not? If they were to apply, did they know?
I asked that question and she didn't really have an answer. I figured it would be, I just said, well, do you think it would be 3 or 4 months? And she just said she wasn't sure. So I'm not sure if anyone knows anyone that's applied recently, and if the timelines have changed. It used to be a fair time, because at one point, I think they only met every quarter. I don't know if that's changed or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. Any other questions on the food cycler for Gail before we move on?
Sorry, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I had asked if there was a possibility, like if it's the 30,000, say, does that have to be paid out in 1 year, or could it be split over the 5 years? And we didn't really get a clear answer on that, Melissa, but they were intrigued by the question, I think. I think that's something that they would be willing to consider, and then that way, the budget doesn't take a hit all at once.
Okay, but if they were successful in the grant, it wouldn't hit our budget at all, right? Am I understanding this right? Depending on which one they were, like if Trillium was successful it would be 100% covered. And then that money we set aside would be able to be used for something else.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, any other further questions on the food cycler before we move on? No? Okay. Okay, so back to the treasurer, Melissa, how would you like to run our open discussion? Is there any further information that you'd like to provide?
No, that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have in your report we'll start off with the most recent one for tonight for receiving as information. And I open the floor up to discussion from council, and I thank Councillor Paroff for providing written comment to our treasurer, and you can see the comments that are provided there in the report. So first off, that I'll put out to council, and I think we're all in agreement, we don't want to have a 10.63% increase. If we can start with that consensus. Do we have consensus on that? So we are going to have fairly good discussion tonight then. Okay. Okay, so option number 1 is out. Option number 2 is to amend the 2020 municipal budget by cutting all the items that Melissa listed for consideration, and those are above on page 1, I believe, or 2 of the report. And it should be noted that if council makes that determination, it will result in a 2.64% increase to the taxes. So if we want to start at that, is discussion on the items that are, those are the items that are listed in the question response to Councillor Paroff. Am I correct, Melissa?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so the transfer to reserve, water reserve, and the transfer to wastewater reserve, you are making the recommendation that we possibly don't do those transfers right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, contribution to Contact North's Regional Simulator Based Training Center. Can you refresh our memory what this is?
It's they had asked for a donation for a training center in our area, and there was no price tag attached. The CEO mentioned that $10,000 would be an appropriate amount if council wanted to do a donation. But there is a resolution that was passed to support them, and it would be considered at budget time.
Okay, so we passed a resolution to support, but we didn't have a number amount attached to that.
Correct.
Okay, the Northern Works program, I just want to speak to that a little bit. Council, you'll see my letter of support. So at our mayor's meeting, as you know, with RED funding applications, it's better to have a more weighty application and have support letters from each of the communities that could possibly be involved. So that support letter was done in principle, that after, because we hadn't had our discussion talks on that. But that figure of 7,500, just to be clear, and you can correct me, Melissa, just jump in if I'm wrong, 7,500 is only for one flight. So it would actually be double that, depending on, they might do the next flight next year. If they're successful in receiving the funds from the RED, it would go down to 4,500 for only the first 2 flights. Am I correct on that, Melissa?
I believe so.
But for this budget consultation, it would be the 7,500. And if they were successful, that amount would go down to 4,500 if we wanted to participate in that program. The repairs to the fire hall. Do we have a list of what these repairs all entail? Sorry, go ahead, John.
Sorry, I just, I'm confused. The Northern Works, if you look at her letter, it says there's a spring and a fall contribution of 7,500. That's 15,000 per year.
Yeah, into the future, it would be 15,000 per year for next year. But this year, what they had discussion at the mayor's group was the first, we wouldn't be prepared till the first flight for the fall, right? That was the
Okay.
understanding. So that was my understanding. Is Gail, did you understand? Well, we had the presentation too. Was it the same at the presentation? Yeah, okay. Okay, so right now, council, we're just going through to discuss these items first, and then we can decide where we want to make cuts. Go ahead, Gail. Go ahead, Gail.
I just wanted to clarify, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I just wanted to clarify that council didn't commit to giving a monetary amount for the regional training center. You supported the establishment of it and then said it would be discussed, but I just want to make it clear that you didn't say for sure that you would donate.
Okay, well, that's probably going to make our decision easier. Councillor Paroff, did you have another comment?
No, sorry, not at this time.
Oh, that's all right. I just saw your mic off. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, to make things really easy, I'm not prepared to donate anything at the moment with the regional training center. Our budget is going to be extremely difficult to balance, and I think we'll be looked in the future. As one, I'm not prepared to make any donations. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Stefanik, we'll wait until the end of the whole list, then we'll come back and just knock things off, just so people understand what they have and they can have a full extent of what we're dealing with. So moving on then, repairs to the fire hall. Do we have a list of those repairs, and are any of those repairs capital repairs that could come out of our capital budget?
I do not have a list, no, that's the amount that I was provided by the fire chief.
Okay, well, I know for myself, and I think council is going, go ahead, Gail.
Sorry, I don't have a list in front of me, but we have, Chief has mentioned to me and us what they've been, but I don't actually have a list. I know he does have quotes. But, and by the way, he messaged me a few minutes ago and said that he'll be in around 9. So if he gets in time and we're still meeting, he could pop on if there's any questions. But in the meantime, I've just asked him if he could provide a list. So if he's able to answer me, I can pipe in with that in a bit.
Okay, great. I'm just, because I think for our discussion purposes, because it's such a vast amount at this time, and we're dealing with a lot of decisions, it might be something that can we do in a 2-phase process where we do some this year, some next year. Are any of those expenses capital where it can come out of a different budget, not our operating budget? So, and then into the future, I would make suggestion, I'm not sure if that would fall under policy or where that would fall, is that these types of asks be brought up a lot quicker than now. So we could actually see the list. And I'm sure it's just time restraints. I understand that. I'm just to prepare for our next council as well. Okay. Reduction in election and new council orientation, 5,000. And Melissa, in your report, you indicate that because the time has moved up quicker to the implementation of council, that is the reason for the reduction. Am I remembering correctly?
Well, I had just pointed out that date in my report. It's just we had put 25,000 into the budget, and I know Gail had wanted to do some orientation with new council as a group, and it's quite a large amount of money. So I don't know if she's going to be going that route anymore, or if there's going to be just regionally or locally. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that that's a possibility to something that council may want to look at reducing, just an area for consideration.
Okay, I know, Gail, that you had reached out to some other municipalities for possible partnership in this. Would that reduce the amount at all if we got partners?
It could for sure, yes. I have 4 other people interested at the moment. I'm hoping to get 2 or 3 more, so that would make an impact for sure. And you know, we can always push, some of it can be pushed to, you know, just say January or February. You just don't want to wait too long, but I really want to get the basics and the most, I guess that's all important, but the most important stuff done kind of before they take office, or just, before it gets too far into, well, by the end of November, I want to get it done. So there is a certain amount that'll have to be done, but if need be, we could always push a second batch off to beginning of the next year.
Yeah, and I want to say, just from my perspective of coming onto council in midterm, and then onto a council as a new position as mayor, that council training is beneficial. And I do totally agree that if we can have training before they take the first meeting, that's huge, depending on who's sitting in my seat or any of your seats, that just understanding the procedure bylaw and how that works and how, you can have an efficient meeting. And I would like to see that, Gail, of moving some of the training into January and possibly into February, and maybe having a bit of a training cycle, because I'm not sure. I'm going to open the floor for a bit of discussion on this one topic for council, is that it is overwhelming when you first come on council and you have all of these items that you have to know, and to do all that training in November and December right before Christmas. I think most people lose it and then they don't even realize. I'm not sure, council, we had 3 brand new councilors this council. Did you have any comments on how it would have been easier for you? Go ahead, Councillor Peroff.
No, I totally agree that training is very important, and the initial meetings are very important to get the bylaws and the procedures down. It will help the whole process go along. So yeah, you wouldn't want to take too much away from training the new counselors, if there is any, but yeah, I like your idea of spacing it out a little bit further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peroff. Councillor Kistmaker, Belinda, or Peter, any comments of when you first got on council? Peter?
You need the training.
It's
important.
Okay. Peter, it's same thing?
Absolutely. The training was very important and sets you on the right path. It's a necessity.
Definitely. Okay. And our wisest counselor, Councillor Stefan, do you have any comments on this? You're on mute. Oh.
Yeah, I do actually. I don't think it's wise to condense all the training really close to each other. It's called information overload. And what happens, you're misconstruing things that you're learning because everything is being jammed into you. I like the November, December, January, as you mentioned first, November, December, January, and February. Spread it out, focus on the theme, and you learn that particular theme and advance further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I think there'll probably be some movement we can make in there. The next item on there is the additional 2020 dust control, 12,000. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, this was to expand dust control to other roads besides Becker Road, if I'm correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Okay, thank you for that, Melissa. And the next thing, hazardous waste day net cost for the township's $9,000. And I think we've discussed this at length, and it's in the report of how this hazardous day waste. It's waste day, not water day, right? Yeah, it's waste day. How it works is that it's more expensive than what we actually pay. We do get money returned, and I believe Melissa said it was upwards around 13,000 we've received back for this past one. And the food cycler net cost program, so we've had discussion on that. Okay, so what is the first goal, council, that we want to get the budget to? John Peroff, Councillor Peroff is looking at approximately about a 2.5% increase. Any other comments on that, of where we'd like to start to try and get a goal of where we'd like to get to? Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
2.5 would be maximum, and going downward, not upward. That would be max in my eyes. Thank you.
0.5% maximum, okay. Councillor Kistemaker Peter, go ahead.
I would agree with Councillor Paroff and Stefanik. 2.5 max. I'd actually like to see a reduction, but we all know that's impossible. But our taxes are so high, it's choking out the average person now, and we're trying to go ahead and we're going to start going backwards if we keep going in this direction. But it's just all these numbers are very discouraging. Just got to get to the point where we get more people paying into it. Just, I don't know. I would say no more than 2.5. I'm in agreement.
Okay, thank you for that. So I think we have a consensus, or not consensus, but majority about going to 2.5. I don't know where I lost Councillor Kistemaker Belinda. Oh. Gail, would you be able to contact her and see if she's still available or if something's happened to her connection? Thank you. Okay, just before we start discussion, option number 4 is to amend the 2022 municipal budget to conform to Township of Hornepayne's budget and financial controls policy. What, am I missing what the increase would be if we were to do that?
I'm sorry, I cut out, you cut out on me. I'm not sure what you asked or who you asked it to.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about to amend the 2022 option number 4. We have the 5 options. I'm just going through them. And I was wondering if there was a percentage increase associated with that.
It's on the 6th page of the report.
6th page of the report. Okay. Thank you for that, Melissa. Just 1 second. I have to grab a door. My
I'm not
apologies.
sure if you heard that, but Melissa said she's also having difficulties, so I'm assuming we all are in the office and perhaps Councillor Kistemaker is as well. Maybe there's something going on with the service, I'm not sure.
Okay. So is Melissa still on the line or she's got bumped off as well?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, you're still here. Okay. So I just want clarification for option number 4. So within our financial controls policy, it's telling us to do a 5% or a 10%?
Yeah, 5% would be the minimum and 10% would be the maximum. And that's because the consumer price index was at 5% on November 30th, 2021.
Okay. And that's quite a bit higher than it usually is too, right? Because it's usually around 2%. Yeah.
Yeah, it is usually around 2 or 1.9 around there.
Okay. Have you been able to contact Belinda to see if she's having difficulty or back on with us?
I did. She is having trouble getting back on, so she's going to try one more time. And if that doesn't work, she'll call in.
Okay. So if we were going to shoot for a 2.5% increase, that would be all of these items here that are listed need to be cut. Melissa, am I getting that right?
All of those items listed plus an additional 7,500
Okay,
for a 2.5 increase to the municipal levy.
right, plus an additional 7,500. Yeah, I'm reading it in 3. Okay. So I put the first question out there for council to consider while we're waiting for Councillor Kistemaker to come back on. Is out of the list, because we've already have consensus that we don't want any more than a 2.5% increase. Is there anything in the list that we have to fight for, or we have to figure out how we're going to provide for? And a question to Melissa as well is, can we use our levy stabilization dollars at all?
Yeah, absolutely. That's up to council's discretion for sure.
Can we use the dollars in a way that, like, let's use an example of the food cycler program, that we decided that, yes, we want to contribute 33,500, that we would be willing to do that in the hopes of a full 100% funding? Or are they still want to go ahead with the program regardless if we get funding or not?
I think what they're looking for is that they're going to try and get it 100% cost recoverable, but they would like a threshold from council. And if it's going to be like if it's going to be 0, or if it's going to be 10,000 or 25,000 or what have you, they want to know what direction council is looking at going.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
While we're on the food cycler program, I know to have everybody in the township pay for the few people that actually going to use it for a while, it's a hard thing for me to swallow.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. If they get 100% funding, yes, they can go and we can try it out and see how well it kicks in. But right at this point, I can't see. I don't feel good to put taxpayers' dollars into that particular program.
Thank you for that, Councillor Paroff. Just looking for clarification from staff. My understanding was that we would reach out, like there would be a percentage that people would pay for that program as well, that it wouldn't just be a free program.
So that's not how I have it in the budget now. There wouldn't be any contribution to any of the taxpayers. But if that's the way that council wanted to go, we could for sure sculpt it that way.
Yeah, because then we could give support. They could still apply for their grant if it's 100% funded. There could be rebates offered, but off the offset, because I'm with Councillor Paroff. The first program was really well done. I think there's lots of interest in our community. But I don't want to see it 100% funded for 200 residents. Is there any other comment on this while we're waiting for Belinda to come back on from Councillor Stefanik or Councillor Kistemaker?
I'm on the phone.
Oh, you're on the phone. Hello.
Yeah.
Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Thanks. I do agree with Council Paroff. I think it's a fair statement. On the same note, we're going to be saving our landfill as well. So there's positive and negative. I think, number one, if we're to contribute as municipal council, I think the onus will be also on the people that are participating, up to 50% cost of that piece of equipment, along with the grant, the possibility of grant, there'd be minimum cost to the municipality. And I think that I said before, and I say it again, I think it's a valuable program, but I think the people that are participating should be paying into the program, minimum 50%. I would certainly look at $2,500 to kickstart that and give them some, not massive amount, but I think I don't want to see this program go basically morbid. I like to see it alive, and a minimum donation towards. But I think if it's successful, when something's successful, you got to look at the ways to fund it in some fashion, along with the participants funding themselves as well, plus the grant. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. Just doing some quick calculations there. If the 30,500 was divided by 200 people, that's $152 a piece, $152.50 actually. And then if it was divided in half again, that was just over $76. So it's a program that we could apply for that is subsidized at 50% or something to that effect. Is that something that we could do, Gail or Melissa, in the letter of support if we were to go that way?
I would think we could make some stipulations. I don't know at this point if you have to get that specific with it. I definitely would talk to them again beforehand, because there may not even be a need for percent funding, but we could definitely say, I think all they're really interested in is the max that we're going to contribute, right?
The max, okay. I would have to agree with Councillor Stefanik that if our residents that were participating were willing to give 50%, I would match that just because of the results that it would have on our landfill. The positive results, because we have to move our community into recycling. Councillor Kissmaker on the phone, do you have any comments on that food cycler program?
Yeah, when it comes to our landfill site and getting us involved in the recycling, I hate to see it go to pot, sort of say. And the matching part I like. The subsidized part I like. If we can do something that way, I think we should try.
Okay.
I like how you guys are thinking.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so moving on to, okay, let's just go down the list. Everyone's online now. We want to so we'll go down the list once. If we have consensus that we're cutting or we're taking it off, we're taking it off for this budget round. So the transfer to reserve, water reserve. Remove. Remove. Transfer reserve to wastewater reserve. Remove. Contribution to Contact North's Regional Simulator-Based Training Program. Remove. Yes. If I don't hear a no from you, Belinda, I'm taking it as a yes, okay?
Okay.
Northern Lights. This would be either 7,500 this year or 4,500, and we would be committing to next year. Go ahead, Drago Stefanik, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I'm not prepared to commit for the following year. I totally 100% against that. if he, I'm ready to commit for this year, for one flight. I saw one of those commercials, by the way, on the Windsor Channel. It was a 30-second commercial. I'm not going to make too many comments because they're not going to be very good. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I don't think we have an option. If we sign up, we're signing up for the 2 flights, are we not? That's my understanding.
That was my understanding as well. Yeah.
Okay, so just so council knows that if we make a commitment of 7,500, that could possibly be 4,500. That would be a commitment of 2 flights, and which would affect next year's budget. And are we committing to anything beyond those first 2, or is this a commitment into years ahead?
No, I think it was just for the 2 flights, and then they were, well, according to what they said at our meeting, they were hoping to bring industry on board, but that's not what they said at the mayor's meeting, when they had said they didn't want to bring industry on board because that had been tried somewhere else, and then the various industries were sort of got their noses out of joint, thinking one was being supported more than the other. So I'm not sure about that.
Okay, my feeling on this seriously is that it's a good program. I think it should come, but not right now. We don't have, we're not rebranded, and we don't even have a hotel to have people come and stay in our community. And we're going to be launching, I would recommend that we write a really nice letter and say we're interested, but approach us next year. That I think it needs more development, even though it's been in development apparently for 1.5 years. We didn't know it. Any Councillor Span, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's unfortunate because their presentation was good. I said that. However, after analyzing, I watched their presentation again, and was deeply unfortunate because they were involved in Southern Ontario to show us a commercial they already piloted to see what it's all about. We didn't see the product. They talked about the product because a 30-second commercial, trust me, it's not very long. And I would love to see the product in the future before, and I'm at fault not asking it because I should have asked to see the product before any commitments. I agree with you, Mayor, for next year or the year after, not right now.
Okay, any further comments then on the Northern Works project?
I'd just like to say that if the industries aren't able to be involved. Oh God. If the industries aren't, oh my God.
Hang your phone up, Linda.
Hang up. Just never mind.
Oh, talk about technical difficulties. Who's ready to go back to in-person meetings? Oh my goodness. Can we actually, with the new regulations coming out, can we have an in-person meeting? Oh. Yes, Gray was just shaking. Are you scared you don't want to make any sounds?
I think April 13th, not off the topic, I'm waiting for Belinda. I think April 13th is a good date to look at seriously.
Okay, as long as it's not a Friday. Are you back on with us, Belinda?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you have any further comments about the Northern Works?
No, I just wanted to say if the industries aren't getting involved, I don't think it's really going to help us, especially right now. We need them to use it. I think it's important that they're involved.
Okay, so for the Northern Works, I think we have consensus. We're not going to participate in that program. And we will invite them to come back to council next year, because it might be something that a future council and our community will be prepared to do. Okay, do we need anything further for you, Gail, to follow up with that, or from us? No, you're good? Okay, so fire hall. Comments from council, repairs to fire hall. Councillor Paroff, go ahead.
Yes, I understand how badly the fire hall needs repairs done. And I would like to investigate and see what can be done. Like 50,000 is a big number. If we can do some of it this year, because eventually we're going to need a new fire hall and a new township office anyways. So I don't want to be throwing good money after bad, kind of. We got to think of the bigger picture here, because what do we do with the new town hall soon? I mean, I think we need to have it 2025, I believe I heard at one time. Just something to think about. I don't want to put in all 50,000 anyways.
Okay, just one clarification. I believe it was on a past report, might have been in January meeting, is that we don't have to make our town hall right now accessible. It's only if we do a new build that it needs to be accessible. So we will be grandfathered. Not that that is a good thing. We do want to get ourselves into a building that's accessible for everyone. And Councillor Stefanik, I saw your hand up as well.
Yeah, I concur with Councilor Paroff. I think the most urgent, where there's health and safety involved for the volunteer fire, I think that has to be done. And I agree, wouldn't want to waste money for the facade of the facility and stuff, but the most urgent health and safety issues have to be done. That's the bottom line. Thank you. And back to the municipal office, I agree, we're grandfathered, but that place is going to be a disaster in another couple of years. It's old, 67, I said many times, 1967. Its shelf life is over. So we got to do some serious thinking on that as well.
Oh my God, my shelf life is not going to be over. It's at 67 years old. Sorry, go ahead, Gail.
I just want to say that we have put off, the township or the fire department has put off doing some of these repairs for a few years. I know that I wish the chief was here, because I think he's quite passionate about it, because it has been put off, and he's put a lot of time and time into getting quotes from various people. And as I said, I don't recall right off the top of my head what we discussed for repairs, other than what I can remember seeing. But there are two distinct. There's some downstairs repairs and there's some upstairs repairs. So it could conceivably, for sure, be broken into two sections. But I know in the SDR it does say that they should be attended to immediately, and we haven't done that. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, up.
So they're supposed to be attended to immediately in the SDR, the renovations of that space. Okay. So I'm wondering if for now, I think the one issue I'm having is what the repairs are, like what's the breakdown. I've said this before, actually, just before the last election, that I don't like giving out money, just like, in 50,000 is a huge amount of not knowing exactly what we're spending it on. And I do want to follow up with what both Councillor Paroff and Councillor Stefanik said about, if we are going to move out of this building, we need to be thinking about how are we making the building better for resale or for whoever's going to use it next. And don't want to be spending too much money on things that can we, unless it's health and safety, and I do agree there are issues in that building that need to be addressed immediately. So for now, I would suggest to council that we bypass the 50,000. We do have a levy that we can work with, but we could have staff investigate further and work with the fire chief to find out exactly what could be moved to next year and this year, and how we could plan this renovation, these repairs, not renovation, these repairs out in a timely manner. Is that suitable for council?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so moving on to the next one is reduction in election and new council orientation. We discussed this a little bit, so I'm going to reiterate basically what I've said about the fire hall repairs. Is what can we put off to next year, and if we can even reduce that further, if because this is only a $5,000 reduction, and where we put that into next year's January and February to spread out that training. And if we could, if that's permissible to you, Gail, if we could have that information at our next meeting, and then whatever, and then it's already at a reduction, so it would reduce what we would take out of our levy stabilization if we did.
Sorry, you cut out. I didn't catch that whole.
Oh, sorry, Gail.
Sorry, I didn't catch that whole thing you cut out.
Okay, I was talking about reduction in elections and new council orientation. So we were looking at right now reducing it by 5. It's reducing by 5,000.
Yep.
And looking at what we could put off to next year, because right now, then currently in the budget, it's 20,000. So what we could put off to next year. Am I getting that right, Melissa?
It's 25 right now, and it would go down to 20.
Yes, go down to 20, but in our discussions, we were talking about possibly even doing other training into January and February. And if we can get numbers on that, and we don't want to leave you strapped, Gail, though, what you need for 2022 needs to happen, but you would be able to know best of what you could push off into January and February. And we've heard from all of council that a new council will probably be appreciative of that as well.
Right. Yep. No problem.
Okay. So additional dust control for 2022. No?
Mayor Fort, can I just ask you to check the chat for a sec?
Yes, for sure. Thank you for that. I didn't even realize the time. We do have open discussion tonight. I'm going to finish these last two with council, and then we'll open up the floor for discussion as well. Okay, so, and I will extend it if council is permissible. We will extend it to 7:30 for open public discussion. That'll allow for a full 20 minutes. And if it goes over, we'll readdress at that time. So we'll use up the next 4 minutes just to close off our discussion. And I do apologize to our community for that. Thank you, Gail, for reminding me. Additional 2022 dust control. Is there a consensus we will take that out? Yes, on the phone, Belinda?
Yeah.
Okay. Hazardous Waste Day. I would like to see it stay. Councillor Paroff?
I would kind of like to see it stay because I don't want the hazardous waste to end up in the landfill somehow. But I'm wondering if we can extend it to every 2 years instead. Is that a possibility, or what is that?
I'm not sure. It might be a possibility. I think it could work. Go ahead, Gail.
We could definitely do that. I just think every second year you're going to get all that stuff going into the landfill because people are not going to save 2 years worth of stuff in their garages or basements or whatever to, they just won't save it for 2 years, I don't think. So just keep that in mind. Oops.
I had stuff in my house there for about 10 years before the first hazardous waste day you brought in. So.
I happen to do it, Gail.
Okay, so we have some discussion on there. So possibly that will stay. And the food cycler net cost to the township. Go ahead, Councillor Maker first, and then Councillor Stefanik. I missed you there, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna, just agree with, Councillor Maker, and I love John's idea, but I think Bill is right. Just asking for people what a convenience for the store landfill rather than.
Okay, you cut up there just a little bit, Peter. Waste day annually, and that we'll leave that in. Okay, Councillor Stefanik, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment through you, Mayor, to Gail. Obviously, it was very successful, right? Am I assuming that strongly was successful? So if it's successful, I agree with Council Paroff. Some people are studious and they will keep it, and I don't think many people do the same thing you did. But I think I'll have it yearly. Thank you.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. And the last item is the food cycler program. And what they're looking for is a max amount that we would be willing to contribute. I think in discussion, we were talking about 50% of the cost that's listed here. So would that be our maximum contribution? And that we would have to find money for the others? So it'd be at 15,250. Or no contribution at all. Councillor, go ahead.
I like to be part of food cyclers and
Okay, we got one. You were breaking up a bit, Belinda. What's your max that you would like to see in the food cycler program?
I like the subsidy idea, so I would go with the 15.
Okay, the 15 to. Okay, Councillor Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, it would be nice to have it deferred for a year, but there is a lot of positive, most necessary things I think we have to go for. I would agree with you 50%.
The 50% of the 50%, or the 30,500, or the 15,250?
30,500, 50% of that.
Okay. Councillor Paroff, go ahead.
I get it. To me, that program is a little too much right now. It's too much. We got bigger things to put money towards than that program. That's my decision.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, so we're gonna open up the floor to discussion. Councillor Stefanik, can your comments wait till after public discussion?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, so we do have people from the community online with us, and I want to apologize to those that have come on to our meeting. And I want to thank Gail again for reminding me that we did have open discussion. So if you would like to speak to our budget, unmute your mic. I have the participants open to me now, and I will call upon you. And I do see a caller number 1 that I don't identify. Do we know who caller number 1 is?
Yeah, it's Councillor Kistemaker.
Oh, that's Councillor Kistemaker. Okay, okay. Okay, so do we have comments from the floor? I'm not seeing any mics unmuted. Is anyone else watching with me so I don't miss anybody? No, I don't see anybody. Okay, I'm going to make calls for open public discussion, so I'm going to put it to a call once. And Gail, have you noticed, has anyone had to leave the meeting or message you that they had to leave, or is all the participants we've had online is online?
Yeah, it's been steady.
It's been steady? Okay, good. And I just don't want to miss anyone. Okay, I put a second call for any comments from the public about the budget deliberations that we're having tonight. I do see a Michael Hopkins.
Yeah, I unmuted.
Okay.
I went from the opposite. Am I echoing?
No, you're not echoing.
Okay. I just took my earphone out, I guess. I went from the opposite side, as you'll probably recognize last time I was here, but I wanted to increase the fees. Is that anything to talk to? Like I ran through the Municipal Act is basically what I'm saying, and I have points regarding that.
Okay, you're thinking of the user fees? Is that what you're talking about, Michael?
Yeah, just points on how to bring more money in. And,
Yeah,
and
we've just been granted somewhere under $50,000 to do a comprehensive user fee study. So that'll probably be on the next council budget deliberations. I'm thinking next year. I put the question to the treasurer. Do you think that will be wrapped up by next year budget time?
Yes, I believe it has to be done by March 2023. Is that correct, Gil?
I believe so, and I think it will be done before that anyways. So.
Okay.
What I was getting at is that I went through the Municipal Act. I don't know if that matters, but I made points to bring forth on that from the Municipal Act. Is that of any purpose?
Yeah, that's definitely a purpose. Did you submit those?
No, I have them right now, just in a list. Just like 6 of them I brought up that I put together.
Okay, go ahead.
So the one that the township's not too fond of, I see, but I've gone through many municipalities, official plans and zoning and whatnot, is trailer licensing, to actually license trailers for safe, even if you wanted to go as low as June, July, and August only, just to keep the motel and hotel people happy, and probably it wouldn't hurt to have as overage for the summertime anyway. But in regards to that, I also mentioned that you'd put a septage fee included with that rather than separate to prevent them from dumping. But Burpee and Mills on Manitoulin Island gives a nice example for that. That's number one.
Just a question on that, Michael. Can I just interject on a question on that? So we would need a place within our community where we have trailers that could be set up that we would rent to? No,
you could just, you as municipality can do basically whatever you want, but you just allow a landowner to have a trailer on their land, as I believe right now it's not allowed.
Right. Okay. I was just getting clarification what you meant by the trailer fees. Okay. Thank you for that. What was your next one?
Yeah, licensing. It can bring in a lot of money. Second one was this one was directly to the treasurer. I just wanted to verify as I ran through the Municipal Act that there's money coming in from the CNR and Hydro for they're paying land tax for their land they're using on municipal property, right?
Melissa, can you answer that, please?
Yes, they do.
Okay, yeah, that's got to be a big income.
I think we could have some clarification on that. I believe it's not that big for CNR. I don't know what the Hydro one is.
The railway right-of-way brings in about 17,000, and Hydro, I don't believe we have anything extra for Hydro.
I think it runs right through the middle of town, east-west, but I'm not sure.
Well, we can investigate it. Thank you for that. And what was your next point, Michael?
Tax sale bylaw. I don't know if I remember reading one or not. I think I might have, but it's getting to the point of actually implementing a cost for these things. as opposed to just issuing the notice of them to recoup expenses. There's really weird stuff going on, is there?
There is tonight. We're having internet trouble. We're having feedback trouble.
It came through. It's okay now, but that was weird. Yeah, so it was tax sale bylaw just to make people who force the municipality to go into the tax sale process to pay for not paying their tax. Fourth one was a major one that I noticed the community doesn't have at the moment, is to form a planning committee. That's going to be a tough one, but have people that can approve the zoning bylaw amendments, minor variances, consents, and it would control your planning decisions more internally, and it saves Gail or the CAO's staff hours, because the planning and land use board would take over the function of a lot of what Gail has to do as extra hours, dealing with planning, talking it over with people. Is currently right now, if you want to do anything in Hornepayne, say, or official plan amendment, $4,053. Condo or subdivision application is $39.98. Consent is $877. Validation is $877. And usually site plans are paid for by the proponent as well. None of that's going to your municipality or through a committee or anyone that I know of. Number 5 was implementing the transient accommodation tax. I don't know if you're doing that with the motel or hotel or not, but that's 4%. And for the water cost fee that I didn't see was in there, is a lot of municipalities charge a fire protection charge, which covers water distribution, protection, and the capital cost allowance for the piping, pumps, and hydrants. That's just a quick list I came up with.
Well, thank you for that. I definitely would like to see item number 4, the planning committee, just because that's not a issue that we can discuss tonight about the budget, but we do have a planning meeting scheduled for May 25th. If we could have that put on there, because there will need to be progress made. This is brand new for us, the zoning. And the accommodation tax, I think that definitely needs to be put into planning too, to figure out how much we would actually gain, and when would it be worth putting into place? Because sometimes it's worth it to tax, but if it's going to cost us more in staff hours, there might be a threshold that we meet, and once that threshold's met, we put it in place.
Well, the motel or whatever just send you accounts payable or whatever it is. They should be able to just send you a number of what they owe you, and that's that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking though, we have other accommodations in our community, so it would be a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Melissa.
I was under the understanding that that accommodations tax, you had to give it over to a tourist agency. And you had to have you just collect it on their behalf and give it to the tourist industry. And it had to be a specific industry or specific organization.
I'm not under that assumption of it. Councillor Stepanek, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a bit familiar because City of Timmins has it. It goes to the municipality. That's how it's broken down.
Okay. So
That's a fact.
We could take 50% and give it to the Center of Ontario Marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought.
Okay, I'm going to address to Gail. Gail, for all the comments that Michael made, did we take note of where they would fit into our planning and what we could do with those issues?
Excuse me. I think we can have some internal discussions about those I know for planning committee, council can be the planning committee if you don't have a planning committee, so we're not stuck without one. But I think more than anything, we all need to learn a little more about that. And definitely it would be better to have a separate committee so it's not extra workload. That's definitely something that needs to be discussed going further. Fire protection fees, I haven't heard of that, or also of putting a, I can't remember how you termed it, Michael, I missed that one, missed half of it with the water.
Michael, would you be able to clarify for us, please?
You mean the fire protection water fee? Yeah, it must be.
Was that the same thing? Was that combined?
Um,
What was your number 5?
Number 5 is the accommodation tax.
Oh yeah, okay, no, I have everything then. I just thought there was a separate something to do with water. Okay,
Yeah, the water just had to do with the capital cost portion of the piping, pumps and hydrants that a lot of municipalities charge for separately on the water bill.
okay, thanks for the clarification. So anyways, I think we would, I'd like to discuss it internally with staff a little bit, get a little bit more information, and then we can bring forward whatever needs to be brought forward to that planning meeting.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for your comments, Michael. And I put it to the floor for the last call for comments on the municipal budget. And I'm not seeing any. Okay. So I do think that we have made significant progress from where we started. We do have sitting on council table right now, 50,000 for the fire hall, maybe a further reduction for the new council orientation, the $9,000 for the hazardous waste day, and then the food cycler program sitting at 15,250. I'm not sure what that total is. I'm not sure if anyone was calculating at the same time. So that's $74,250, but we still have costs associated with the ball field. Melissa, am I correct in saying that the reduction of the 55,000 for sod next year, it still doesn't cover about 25,000 that we would need for the relocation?
50, about 7 more thousand for the ball field.
70 more thousand for the ball field, but that's even if we do the sod next year?
7,000.
Oh, 7,000. Okay, that's if we were to do the sod next year.
Yeah.
That's not currently included in our budget.
No, it's not.
Okay. So we're at $81,250. And do we have any other expenses I'm missing at this time? Councillor Kistemaker, Peter, go ahead.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I can.
I don't know if this is a good time, but I think this would maybe we consider charging for the services that are offered to non-taxpayers, like all the cottages out of Second Government and Creek Lake. They get the same services people in town, minus the garbage pickup, and we don't recoup any of the cost. If it is, it's through very minimal. I think the cost we should recoup at least the cost that it recoup all the cost that's costing the taxpayers to cover the road maintenance. Out. Another place I don't know is informing you.
Okay, so I'm understanding what you're saying is that we start a user fee program for people that live outside of the community that are using our facilities within the community.
No, for the like we're plowing the roads, we're maintaining the roads through the summer to year-round cottagers that don't pay any taxes. And, I think the user fee should be based on the same as what everybody else is paying. So whatever the hourly rate is to rent the grader, I believe that should be applied. As well as, any of the other snow removal services in the winter, any of the, should be, and I'm pretty sure if you ask the residents that do reside in these places, I don't think they would have any problem. There's a lot of people who've been talking about it, but nobody's actually ever asked them. I really believe if we, under these conditions, if we were to ask them, I'm sure nobody would have any difficulty with that.
Okay. Okay, well, I would, Councillor Chenier. Treasurer Chenier, go ahead.
I just want to clarify that we do have some cottages that live within the municipal boundaries who do pay taxes. And we ask some of the other residents who do get services, we send them letters every year to make a contribution to the municipality in the amount of $300, I believe. And last year there was one cottager who paid that voluntary payment.
Okay, so then it definitely needs to be followed up with. Councillor Kistemaker Peter, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Melissa. I was just listening to what the treasurer was saying, and she answered my question. Nobody's paying, so yes, I think it's something that we should look at sooner than later, because we're going into a year where the expenses of living, just gas prices, everything, and it's not fair to put any more burden on our taxpayers that are for no reason. I think everybody should be paying their part.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Kistemaker. Go ahead, Gail.
Absolutely right. This is something that we've talked about doing before, but I think the perfect time now with the user fee study that could be rolled into that and get a really good analysis of it done, by an outside party. I think it would be a really effective way of getting a firm, good, solid amount.
Okay, I'm in agreement with that. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
I agree with Councillor Peter Kistemaker 100%, and also with the addendum that Gail, the CEO, put together. We should be acting on this issue. It's been discussed over the last 30 years and nothing was done. So I think the economy right now is such that it has to be looked at very seriously. With the user fees, perfect timing. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. Okay, so my recommendation to council right now is we do have that amount. There could be some further adjustments. We are at 7:30. We are already over our time allotted for the budget discussion tonight. So I would like to transfer the rest of the budget discussion with the further information that staff will bring back to us on the March 23rd meeting, and then we can carry on with the rest of our agenda. I can only see two councillors right now. Treasurer Melissa, go ahead. You're on mute, Melissa.
Just to provide some further direction, we had scheduled the March 23rd meeting to pass the budget. So we'll have to schedule another meeting to pass the budget if we're going to do deliberations again next week, or I mean on the 23rd. And just for the adjustments that you'd like made in the budget. So I have all of them that council discussed. So did you want me to make those cuts and the changes to add in the ballpark and then put the remaining difference from the levy stabilization, or just leave it how much the amount would be to get it to a 2.5 like council?
Yeah, I think the direction would be is to get it to a 2.5% increase with an amount that could come from the levy. And then we could make that decision at the meeting, whether we were going to continue with the cuts or take it from the levy. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if that does. Melissa?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to Treasurer. I think regarding the ballpark specifically, I think any other aesthetics to the ballpark, I think should be looked at as well. Reducing it or cutting this year and put it into 2023. I'm talking about especially the aesthetics and Saudi's aesthetics and the other aesthetics that's going to be going in there. Thank you. And if I have one more final, I want to have clarification. I was going to ask Melissa, but you asked me to refrain till the end.
Yes, thank you.
CN Crossing, Fifth Avenue. We received a billing, $440,000. Am I hearing this correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
And
So
they
we're
want, go ahead.
100% payment, pay 100%.
Yes, that's correct.
Number two, Becker Road crossing. The actual cost to do the work was $200,000. We are to pay 50%, which equals $100,000.
Yep, that's correct.
So basically, they're looking at $500,000. Correct?
Yep.
So with this, we have some serious discussion on this issue in the near future. Thank you.
Yeah, just that we have those, because those just came into you yesterday, Melissa?
Yeah.
So if we
Thank
can have
you.
included for the 23, the March 23rd, and not included in that, included to understand what the pricing is.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Okay, if there's no further comments or questions on that. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. To accept receipt, acknowledge receipt of the report, please. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor John Paroff. Be it resolved that Council does hereby acknowledge receipt of CSMT 2020-06 2022 draft municipal budget report as prepared by Melissa Chenier, Client Services Manager, Treasurer. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that is carried. Okay, moving on to council deliberations for water and sewer bylaw. Melissa, would you like to speak to your report before I open up for discussion?
No, I don't have anything further to add, but I'll take questions if there's any.
Okay, so the recommendation from our previous meeting on February 23rd was to find out what we would be doing with the hotel motel water and sewer rate and determine if we were going to, what avenue we were going to take. At that meeting, we had some discussion about having further information. It's available in Melissa's report, and I open up the floor now for discussion on that. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I'm looking at page 3, the recommendation and the background work by the treasurer. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to me, the numbers. There has to be certain charge, obviously. And if you look at the one SDE 10, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, with the numbers, the way they've broken down, I think that would be fair in my view.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Any further comments or questions on the report? So I know one of the questions that I had from last meeting was follow up to where the investor got their figures from. So the staff was diligent in getting those answers, that they were received our water and wastewater rates and calculated their own figures. And out of those figures, I believe is too low after reading the report and doing the water and wastewater study. And you can see based on the report, they actually increased the amount a bit, because the actual presumable amount calculated at our current rate would be just over $11,000, which is completely unfair, because we have other smaller units just at 4 units paying just around 8,000. So I would, I'm going to recommend to council that we have a discussion that the charges between the 10 SDEs or the 18 SDEs. And if we go by our rate study, it really should be more appropriately weighed at the 18 SDEs. Councillor Stefanik, did you, I think you're on mute. Were you speaking?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm sorry. My thought, I was somewhere else, I guess, in the ether space. Yeah, it's the one, her recommendation, which is the maximum. I apologize. I should have said my whole sentence. The 18 SDEs. I mean, it would make sense to me. That's what I'm saying. Her risk. So we have a choice, and my choice would be 18. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't finish my thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm thinking though, like, if we're going to implement the water and wastewater study in the rates that are in there, do we do this over a gradual period where we go 10 to get to the 18, or do we just say it's the 18? So I open the discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker, Belinda.
Is this a possibility? Could we start off at the 10 and within 5 years time or whatever time period, we look at the 18? So we're helping them with them get started, but as time goes on, we have to look at that. Is that a possibility?
I'm not sure. Gail, go ahead.
My immediate reaction to that is, because we have a specific business or investor that we're dealing with that could be seen as bonusing. Had we not had, I mean, if we had 5 hotels and we were changing the rate, I could maybe see that being, if you can even do that, I could maybe see that being a little more workable, but that would be my fear. Even though that's not the intention particularly, I just think that it could be construed that way.
Any further comments from council? Councillor Kistemaker, Peter, go ahead.
If at all possible, I would like to see that avenue investigated further. If we would get a couple of points or not, because we really don't want to put up any more roadblocks or anything like that for this hotel to go ahead. So if it would ease this way into it, if it's possible, I think it should be definitely considered, at least look further into it to make sure that we cross all our T's. That's all.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing with going forward in this town, is we need investment. We've got someone that wants to invest. I know we have rules. I completely agree with what Gail was saying. It's just, we got to show that we're doing everything we can to make the business make it profitable, or worth investing in one piece and get other people coming.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have a few options. I think we're all in agreement that it should be above the 10 or at 10, and that it needs to get to the 18. So The report does say 10, but all the final information wasn't there. And I'm at a real juncture in this, and I actually, in a conversation today, I was concerned about going to the 18, but at the same time, the prospectus shows that it can afford it. And I don't even think that's really how we should be making decisions at council, is we really should be looking at what did our water and wastewater studies say? How do we implement it? In our previous meeting, though, I was concerned that we had given an amount that that's what their water would be. And we hadn't done that. So, and we have now undertook a study. So I'm in favor for raising it right to 18, right off the bat, implement the study, and let's move forward. And we do need direction on this. I think, or do we put it as a 4 points, 10, 14 this year, and it goes into 18 next year? I'm not sure. It's up to you, council. Gail, go ahead.
I think I get a legal opinion on that.
You can get an illegal opinion on putting it up halfway. Is that what you're talking about?
Just to see, yeah, just to address my concern that it could possibly be bonusing. If we do that, I would like to get a legal opinion on that.
Okay. That might be the best understanding of that. I think so. Okay, so we'll wait for a legal opinion, and then really that'll tie our hands. If it comes back that it could be construed as bonusing, it's going to 18. Is that my understanding, Gail?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I don't know, sorry, just one other thing that I'm not sure, and we could check this out too, and maybe it's not soon enough for this year. And I know, as we know, we can put tax incentives into CIPs. I'm not sure about water and sewer incentives. But the budget time is now and the CIP is not done yet. So I'm not sure how or if we can make that work either. I think I'd have to ask about that as well.
Okay, well, let's find out from a legal opinion on that. I'm in agreement with that, because if we can graduate it, that would be nice to do. But if we can't, then I think we should follow, we pay for expert advice. I think we should follow it. Is there any further comments on this discussion? It'll come back. Okay. Moving on then, or sorry, can I get a mover and a seconder to accept, acknowledge receipt of the report, please? Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by John Perroff. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of CSMT 2022-7 2022 Water and Sewer Bylaw Considerations Report is prepared by Melissa Chenier, Client Services Manager, Treasurer. Manager's report. After the first report, if I can get a mover and a seconder, and actually right now I'm gonna call that we take a 5-minute break right now before we get into the bulk of our meeting. And we will resume back, well, it'll be an 8-minute break, I guess. We'll resume back at 7:55. Okay, we'll see you then. Just some housekeeping items, get the resolution on the floor so we can start talking about the reports. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the manager reports provided at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. And our first report is the CAO report. Is Belinda, are you hearing us? Oh, there we go, right on. Okay, so the first report is our CAO Clerk Report. Gail, would you like to speak to your report before I open up to floor for discussion or comment?
Yes, thank you very much. I just have a couple of things to add. Excuse me. Stacy and I had our kickoff meeting with the consultant for the CIP, I think it was yesterday, and went very well. We really both feel like they're going to do an excellent job. They seem to really know their stuff. They were asking a lot of questions that I thought were really good questions. So they will be reaching out. They want to interview each counselor individually, as long as some of the, well, I guess all of the senior management. And Shanna will be reaching out to you with some dates when they provide their availability. And hopefully we can get you all scheduled in for sessions with them. And we had a meeting today also with the with Aqua. We've been working on the application for the ECA for the consolidated linear infrastructure, and it's coming along quite well. But Aqua has said that a lot of people have got extensions, and we have asked for an extension. If we don't get one, we can still get our stuff in, but we'd really like to take a bit more time to look over the asks on the application, because it is quite involved. So, and we've been meeting regularly about it and having working meetings, but it would just be nice to have that little bit of a time that we don't have to sort of rush. It's never good to rush. So we'll see how that works out, and if not, we'll get it done.
Okay, great. Do you know how long it'll take you to find out about the extension, Gail?
Apparently people have been finding out either the next day or the same afternoon. I just asked after our meeting today, just before 4. So I'm hoping to hear tomorrow.
Okay, great. Okay, so I was just concerned that if it went on for a month or 2 months and we weren't getting things accomplished, that we would get behind. Okay, great. Good. Okay, I open up the floor to question or comment for our CAO from council. Councillor Kistemaker, Belinda, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, you talked about Ministry of Government and Consumer Services locate requests. What is that all about?
That is because we are having to wait often up to 3 weeks to get our locates back, mostly from GTEL. GTEL is the company that does the locates for Hydro One. So meanwhile, we have either sewer backing up or potential for backing up into someone's basement, or we have water, treated water running, being a waste, becoming a hazard with icy roads, icy sidewalks, or just, it's not good for the environment. It's not good for finances, the whole bit. So they're legislatively, the service providers are supposed to respond within 5 business days, unless there's an arrangement, a mutual agreement made that, you know what, this isn't a rush. It's okay. We don't have to get this done right away. But most of the things that we do, and most of the times that we call, we have leaks. So we've done repeated complaints to not Service Ontario One Call, as well as to GTEL themselves. And GTEL, once in a while, they're good for a month and then they fall back again. And Ontario One Call, I don't know, just because they're so slow in responding, they'll say, oh, well, we need such and such. So you'll give them such and such, and this stretches on for 2 weeks. And by the time they deem that they have all the information they need, the work is done, and they'll say, well, there's no request in, so we can't comment on that. Like the system needs to be changed. There needs to be a proper complaint system. And they need to either hire contractors. Well, I guess they don't hire the contractors, but they either need to have contractors arranged for that can fulfill their contracts, or they need to do like license or whatever the term is, local people to be able to do this. I mean, our people from GTEL come from Timmins, and it's like a 10-minute job. So anyways, they need to really step up their game on that.
That answer your question, Councillor Kissmaker?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Any further comments or questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik Drago.
Yeah, a great report, Gail. I'm referring to your deadline for comment to firefighter certification process. I think it's crucial that they extended by 30 days. I'm listening to other municipalities surrounding us. They're in the same predicament. Keeping in mind, our firefighters are volunteers. It's fine for a larger center where they're professional paid firefighters, where they could jump into the program and get certified or recertified. I think this is going to detract for volunteers because they're pushed to be certified by a certain amount of time. They're already volunteering. So I think it's crucial that that's the 30-day allowing to more comments by the smaller municipalities. I'm glad that was included, Gail. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. I'm wondering if this is a issue that just from what was in the email from our fire chief, if this is an issue where we need to talk to AMO and NOMA, but also maybe apply for some sort of, I would go joint delegation, not just us, and maybe bring it to the mayor's group first and see where they're at, or NEOMA as well. And just a letter of looking for support. I'm not sure. I don't know. We necessarily can't lead this as a municipality this year. We have too much going on. But if we sent a letter to those organizations looking for support, because we're not going to be able to pay $308,000 for training. So I'm not sure, Gail, I look for your direction on that point. Is what do you think would be the best avenue with the least amount of our staff work, but it actually get looked at?
Well, I think that it's not a bad idea to bring it to the mayor's group and to NEOMA. But like you say, we don't want to lead anything, but those two groups could definitely at least write letters. I would think, or each municipality could write a letter to the organization. The organization could do the letter and attach all the municipalities' letters. Because not Phenom, but NOMA and AMO are already on top of it. But I think they need to hear from the smaller people, and especially the people in the north, right? And they have done a lot of consultation, and they did do a lot of stakeholder interviews and everything, but they didn't really, like, we only got it on the 18th of February. I don't know how long they were doing it beforehand, but it's not even long enough for us to bring it to our councils, and that was brought up right in the session that I was in. So I definitely think it needs following up on, and if there's enough pressure, I think they'll reopen it, or I think they'll listen.
Okay, why don't we look at this, because our mayor's group isn't meeting till the beginning of August, I know, or April, and NEOMA's not meeting again till the beginning of April. I just had a meeting with them this morning. So why don't we actually pass a resolution on this, and then have the letter with the resolution, and see if those other municipalities will bring it to their table and pass resolutions. And then we'll have that extra weight, because Danny from Phenom, Whalen, this morning said that. He said that exact thing, what you were saying, Gail, about having the weight of all the smaller voices together, saying, like, this is going to sink us. Like $300,000, like, what is that? That's like somewhere around a 30% increase to our taxes to even cover that. You don't want to be spouting out that, but go ahead, Gail.
No.
No.
I just, I'm assuming that we would do this at the next, pass that at the next meeting then, or?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is it possible to put the resolution on our 23rd meeting and then get the letter out right after that? And that would be time to get it on their agendas for movement. And I think, I'm not sure council in the resolution, if we want to put about what Gail had mentioned about us not having significant time to even be consulted because of the way meetings are run and the way it works. Would we like that in the resolution as well? I'm seeing consensus on that part, Gail. Okay. Okay, any other comments on Gail's report? I just want to say thank you to the staff that for not letting our seniors initiatives fall off the radar. It is frustrating to have multiple times have applied and get rejections, but fingers crossed it does go through this time, I'm hoping. One item that I wanted to bring up was the Canada Day celebrations. I was thinking maybe this could go on to our planning meeting. I think this is an area where the township staff needs to move away from, that we as a council need to support in a budget an amount of money towards Canada Day celebrations, possibly towards Winterfest celebrations, but I'm not sure this is the best spent time for our staff. I would like to support it, but I think we need to talk about that at a council meeting, because other communities, they have like a community group that does the celebrations. Council does support it. I think we could still support the fireworks and that sort of thing and partner with our fire department, but I do think it needs to be on our planning discussion. Oh, I thought it was wonderful news that we were able to transfer funds into wages, or possibly into wages, for the EDO using those travel dollars that we got. So round of applause to the staff for seeing that and asking about it. I think that's wise and efficient. And I just wanted to point out that I didn't just bail on the senior staff when we were talking about the mall on February the 16th, I believe it was. I got called away for consultation by the Ministry of Infrastructure. They were looking at implementation of Ontario's Community Infrastructure Fund redesign. So that's the OSIF program. And we were talking in some of those meetings, possibly in the future, there may be rolling stock included, which is kind of interesting. And that was all my comments on the report. Okay, if there's no other further comments or questions, we'll move on. Okay, moving on to the public manager's report. Dwayne, would you like to speak to your report before we open up for a comment or question?
No, I have nothing really to speak to. I'm ready for questions if anybody has any.
Okay, great. I just have the one question about the freezer or the condenser freezing again. So this is the second time, because at the last report we had it, so in that time it froze again, and we think it's the same issue, just too cold out.
Correct. Temperature change, fluctuation in temperature. Simcoe was in after it froze up the second time here, and they checked everything out. Everything's fine.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, I don't see Councillor Kistemaker on the screen. He get bumped off.
I kept. Can you hear me, Madam Mayor?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on the phone now. My computer just quit working. I can't get the internet to go.
Okay, okay. So you're there. When we take votes, I will have to get you to reply with the yes or no, please.
Okay.
Okay. Did you have any questions for the public manager, public works manager, for his report?
No, I do not.
Okay. I don't see any further questions or comments, Dwayne. Thank you for your report. And now we go to our economic development officer. Stacy, would you like to speak to your report before I open up for question or comment?
No, Gail covered the kickoff meeting for the CIP, so I got an email today with some potential dates, so you'll probably get that tomorrow. So I'll
Okay.
take any other questions.
With those possible dates, are they gonna give us a kind of a highlight of what they're gonna ask us? Like some preliminary questions, we can be prepared?
Okay, I'll ask her for that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
She's gonna, one of the things she said is she's basically gonna give you an overview and then you're gonna have a discussion for an hour, but I'll get some areas of discussion for you.
Okay, an hour discussion. Okay, individually?
Yep.
Okay,
So she would like to, so she'll give you an overview of what the CIP and some of the possible incentives, and you'll have a discussion. And she's aiming for to have council done in one or 2 days, back to back. So 1 hour for you and 5 for her.
wow, okay. Okay, open up the floor for comment or question for Stacey's report. Councillor Paroff, go ahead.
Yeah, Stacey, I got one little question for you, clarification. Park expansion timeline. Are you,
Yes.
you're indicating that the construction of 2 stall outdoor washrooms, fencing and the landscaping is not to be completed till mid-September?
Well, it's because we don't even have a quote yet. We don't have a contractor for the outdoor bathroom. That's the second grant, not the first grant. We're still working on getting quotes and a contractor, so they're not gonna be doing it. I mean, if we get somebody earlier, it potentially could be done earlier, but the fencing needs to be done after the outdoor bathroom's there and the fitness equipment's up.
Okay, so is the pavilion not going to be available for use for the summer, or can they still use it without that?
The kids park?
Yes, sorry, yes.
The kids park's gonna be done hopefully by May. You'll see it's the very first thing. So all the sections should be done if we get all the equipment. The fitness
Okay.
equipment, the outdoor fitness equipment's going behind the bike park. And then the outdoor bathrooms, that's gonna be dependent on where the water and sewer lines are on that property.
Okay, thanks. But it's still going to be functional. The kids' park is for the summer, right?
Yeah, oh yes.
Good, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Paroff. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through your mayor, good report, Stacy. May I have a hard copy of the park expansion, pavilion park expansion, hard copy, please?
Sure.
And and numbers to be expanded. I'm getting old in my age and my eyes are flickering. So can you put a couple of fonts higher, please? Thank
I
you.
will, okay.
I didn't have any questions. Councillor Kistemaker on the phone, do you have any questions, Peter?
No, I do not.
Okay, great. If there's no further questions, thank you. Stacey. And I will put the receipt of the motion to accept the manager's reports to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Okay, moving on to correspondence action items. Hornepayne Housing Corporation resignation. So I gave council an update about this back at the beginning of February that this would be coming. So it's effective March 31st. So we can either appoint somebody tonight or wait for the 23rd and make the appointment then. So the first thing we need to do is get a mover and a seconder to accept the resignation. Moved by Councillor Dragos Stefanik, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby accept with regret the legacy Board of Directors dated March 2nd, 2022. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that is carried. Thank you for not holding me hostage. So do we want to give that thought and then put that appointment for the 23rd? And I guess I should ask, are we able to put that appointment on the 23rd meeting, or is that just a special meeting?
No, it's not a special meeting. It's just the second meeting that we scheduled.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, if you have anybody that's interested, they could speak to it tonight, and you could either accept or defer.
Okay. Councillor Kistemaker, Belinda, go ahead.
I can put my name in.
You're willing to go and sit on the HHC?
Sure.
Thank you for that. Do we want to put a motion on the floor and deal with that right now? Okay, moved
Yes.
by John Paroff, second by Drago Stefanik. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne does hereby accept and appoint Councillor Belinda Kistemaker to the Hornepayne Housing Corporation Board, effective April 1st, 2022. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that is carried. And I just want to put it on record. That was pretty good. I did not have a motion in front of me. Moving on. Thank you, Belinda. 10.2, H. Gaglarity open letter to Township and Council. I think we will probably have further discussion on this unless there's any questions at the COVID update. I think the issue has been resolved now as of yesterday, really. The only point that I would like to make on this point in this letter is it is unfortunate. I do understand that there has been hardships that everyone has gone through at different levels, depending on different choices that people have made. Just in our community, we set out at the very beginning and we created a community control group, which helped us make all our decisions. And even though, and I'm thankful that the province did give us allowances to come back to our tables and make decisions for our community. So that is what had happened. The announcement came out that we could lift passports, vaccine passports and different things of the restrictions. And then we had that community control group meeting on Thursday. Unfortunately, both Gail and myself were away and didn't get to review everything until Monday. And then, of course, the restrictions were lifted on Tuesday after all that consultation. And I do apologize. That was the quickest it could be all done. And I do want to thank all of those people again on the community control group that have helped our community through this pandemic. I'm hopeful it's coming to an end, but I know that all of us have spent many, many hours trying to make the best decisions for all. And I know that some of those decisions did affect people more heavily than others. And I do apologize for that. But in the wholeness of all of us, I think we've done very well through this pandemic. And I thank everyone who's been involved. So if we can move on to 10.3, the Ministry of Environment. If I can get a mover and a seconder, and then we'll open up comment to the report. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Belinda Kistemaker. Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, be it resolved that Council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the Hornepayne Municipal Solid Waste Disposal Site Inspection Report completed on September 28th, 2021, as prepared by Lillian Keane, Senior Environmental Officer, Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. So I open up the floor for discussion or comment on the report. Councillor Kistemaker, Belinda, go ahead.
I noticed these reports were done back in September. I was just wondering with how far have you guys gone on your follow-ups? I'm talking about both of your reports. I don't know if we can talk about both of your reports, but I was just wondering, like, are you up to date on everything that had to get done?
Thank you for the question, Belinda. I think the reports were just received as of February 23rd. Am I correct, Gail?
No,
No?
they were completed and we only received them, no, they were completed then, but we only received them last week. Just before the agenda went out.
Okay. Usually there's a lag, just for clarification, usually there's a lag when someone comes in to do a report and then when we receive the report. So follow up to Councillor Kistemaker's question. For the first report, do we have a plan in place to resolve the daily ground cover issue and the signage?
I'm not sure if you want me to speak to that or the Public Works Manager.
I'll let you direct, Gail, where you see fit.
Dwayne, would you like to speak to it? I don't want to, I don't want to overstep.
I can do that. The sign will be done quickly. That's covered. I'll have to address the daily cover thing yet. The sign should be taken care of quickly though.
Okay, the one discussion we've had, I think Councillor Kistemaker might remember this, Belinda. I believe it was one of our waste management meetings where we talked about, because this issue came up about the garbage being spread about because of our coverage, and we don't want to put cover, we don't want to fill it in because it's going to use up our landfill too quickly, was the possibility of using tire mats, those big explosive mats. I don't know if Dwayne, if that was before your time or not.
Before my time.
Okay, there was a discussion, and this goes on to, COVID. We haven't met as a waste management committee, but I know that was one of the discussions we had, that the weight of the tire mat might reduce the waste getting out of those trenches, but then it just gets removed when we want to fill up some more. I don't know if that's actually a possibility or what have you. Belinda, do you have any further comment on that?
That came up at our waste management meetings when we used to have them before. That's when Dennis was here. And I think Gail and I, when we took that course, they talked about mats being used as well as even mattresses because they were heavy enough to stay in place. I do know something has to be done because people drive by that mess every day. We have to do something. I was just wondering where we were on that. That's all.
Okay. Well, I'm going to assume it's going to be followed up on, Dwayne, that you're looking into it now that you have the reports. And hopefully we can resume some committee meetings in the future. Councillor Spanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through Mayor, I know for a fact the blast mats would be very effective, and that's a fact. Thank you. I have some experience in using blasting previous construction. They'd be fantastic, easy to move with the front end loader. I think they'd be most efficient.
Okay, well, we'll leave that on your plate, Dwayne, to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any further discussion on this first report about the disposal site inspection report? Peter Kistemaker, Councillor Kistemaker, do you have any comments or questions on it?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any, then I put it to a vote. That those are in favor to acknowledge receipt of this report. Those in favor?
Yeah.
And that is carried. Okay, 10.4, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor John Peroff, seconded by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the Hornepayne Municipal Sludge Disposal Site Inspection Report completed on September 28th, 2021, as prepared by Lillian Keene, Senior Environmental Officer, Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. And I open up the floor for discussion. Councillor Kistemaker, Belinda?
I was just wondering if you had plans going forward and how to deal with that study. It seems a little complicated.
Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength with you, Belinda. I'm thinking for even including the plan for the waste disposal site and then the sludge site, is if we could have some sort of planned out report of how that's going to be taken care of, just from our governance perspective, that we've done our due diligence to ensure that there is a plan in place. Is council in favor of that? Do we want to amend the motion to include that? Gail, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. I don't think you need to amend the motion. But what I just wanted to speak to this a little bit, because we did meet with Lillian this morning to go over the reports, and one of the things, and first of all, well, maybe Dwayne didn't know so much about this. This didn't shock me. I knew this was coming. I actually went on the inspection with her, but it's not, that's not why I knew. I knew because this work that was done at the site was tacked on to the wastewater. It's the phase 2 of the wastewater upgrades that were done in 2016 or 2017, whatever year that was. And it did definitely fall to the wayside. We lost our project manager, passed away, was replaced, was replaced by another one who was kind of fitting it into his schedule. The Aqua staff changed, the Aqua management changed, our staff changed, and it didn't go out of my mind, but we just haven't had the capacity to address it. Now that there's been an inspection, obviously we have to address it. But one of the things Lillian, actually the first thing Lillian said this morning was these inspections are a new format and they're very inflexible, so it doesn't leave her any leeway of sort of stating things the way she would like to state them. It makes you give a yes or no answer, so it actually looks worse than it is. There are a lot of things that need to be addressed, but she's very good to work with, and she said she understands that it's more difficult for small municipalities, and she said that's why I didn't give any dates that things need to be done, because I understand the capacity restraints and the financial restraints and whatnot. So she's really good to bounce things off of and work with. We have a meeting scheduled tomorrow with Aqua, because the new managers there are, I had forwarded on to them as well. So Pat Albert is confident that he's got a good, well, we hadn't discussed it ourselves as well, and we kind of have a plan, but he said he also has a plan. So it'll be interesting to see what he says. And like he said, they have 3 staff here, they can help out. So we'll definitely have to, turn our attention to this now, so hopefully before the snow flies, we can get a lot of this stuff addressed.
Okay, so we don't have to amend the resolution then, or the motion that's on the floor, and then it'll come back to council with a plan or of how it'll be addressed to ensure it's being addressed. Okay. Is there any further questions on this report? Councillor Peter Kistemaker on the phone, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the report, the acknowledged receipt of the Hornepayne Municipal Sludge Disposal Site Inspection Report motion to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Okay, moving on to 10.5, Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Gail, did you want to speak to this letter?
I think Councillor Stefanik just fell off the radar.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sorry, just let me look at this for a second.
You want me to speak to it, Gail? And you can deal with council.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I know we spoke about it. My mind's just kind of gone blank on it.
No, that's all right. It kind of ties in. So they have created a Northern task force. There is a Northern Transportation draft plan that we have discussed at length. We've gone actually to Roma on 2 different delegations. I got Gail to send me the letters today. We had a meeting with NEOMA today, the Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association, with the task force discussing different items. So this is an avenue where we can each individually put our comments in. I would encourage all of council to put comments in and copy Gail on those comments. Just like we were saying earlier, that the more weight, the more that we're commenting, or even if someone in the community wants to comment, give them the address and let them comment. And my suggestion would be to copy our township, the CAO, so we can just put them in a record, a file together, because they would add weight. And we did first discuss this at Roma in 2020. We talked about highway maintenance. And then last year we went with actual points from their action plan, if you remember that, in that delegation as well. So we have been on top of this, but I think we need to continue. And if there's any, if you want any direction or advice on what you can put in, we could actually send out those delegation packages to you in an email, if that would help council. Okay, Gail, could we do that? And maybe the response letters? Okay. Okay, so moving on to correspondence information only. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councillor Parrott. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. And are there any comments or discussion that council would like to have out of the information only package? The only part that I wanted to highlight, Gail and I had a discussion about this, is 11.9, the Ministry of Finance, Credit Union and Caisse Populaires Act 2020. Kind of interesting that someone's looking at the act. I'm not sure if how that all come about. I just want to note as well in 11.10 that I did respond to Hornepayne First Nation, thank them for the information update and for providing the COVID-19 tests to our community. And I would like to congratulate in 1116 the Northern Ontario School of Medicine and the University of Hearst becoming independent universities with the degree granting authority as of April 1st. That's very good. I did have a meeting with the Northern School of Medicine president back in about 3 weeks ago, just talking about attraction and different ways that we can attract doctors to Northern Ontario. And those are my comments. Okay, I don't see any further comments or discussions on that. So I put the motion to accept, acknowledge receipt of the correspondence only to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Okay, moving on to item 12.1, Crime Stoppers donation request. Is this currently in our budget?
We have $5,000 that's in the council budget for advertising and public relations, and that's usually the amount that's normally in there prior to the Northern Works and the Contact North being added in for this year.
Okay, Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think it's a worthy cause. And also, if you read the letter, they're willing to come to our community during special events and market what they have and hand out stuff to the local citizens. So I would support this motion to donate $500. Thank you.
Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councillor John Parrott. Whereas Crime Stoppers is a charitable community program which empowers people to make their neighborhood safe through the anonymous reporting of crimes. And whereas the increased outreach of the program in 2021 led to a successful year, and whereas the Township of Hornepayne has received correspondence from Crime Stoppers of Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma District requesting a donation of $500, and whereas the donation would help boost awareness of the program in the district, which would hopefully lead to more people calling in tips and would ensure enrollment in the Friends of Crime Stoppers membership. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby agree to donate $500 to Crime Stoppers of Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma District to support their programs and awareness in the district. Any further discussion or comment on the motion? There being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that is carried. Okay, conferences, seminars, and training. Oh. Sorry, my iPad's frozen. I can't see the motions. Just a second. Okay, moving on to item number 13, conferences, seminar, and training. Item 13.1, Ontario Forestry Industry Association. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor John Paroff, seconded by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby approve the expenditures to be incurred by to attend the 2022 Ontario Forestry Industry Association OFIA annual meeting and convention to be held Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 in Toronto, Ontario. And originally, when we had first put this on, I was willing to go to that event. I'm not sure if there's somebody else that would like to attend. No, unfortunately, I wanted to put it back on because we said we would bring it back. I unfortunately can't attend at that time. Councillor Kistemaker, Peter on the phone.
And I'm not interested.
Okay. So do we even need to have the motion? No? We just vote it, like there's no name in there or anything, so.
I would just leave it out.
Leave it out? We won't have that motion.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to committee reports, 14.1, Hornepayne Public Library Board. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor John Paroff. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the minutes from the Hornepayne Public Library Board regular meeting held on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. Any comments on those minutes? Okay, I think I do have a comment, actually. Sorry, we got to try and deal with my iPad. I wanted to comment on the motion on the resolution talking about that the board had, just a second, $4,390.47 in surplus. And it would be transferred from the library board account back to the municipal account. So first of all, I want to applaud, if I'm reading that right, I want to applaud the library on the efficiency and the effective manner of their budgeting. I think we should talk maybe at the planning meeting of, in these cases, is it something that we want to look at in the future, so we're not penalizing someone when they do well in their budget, where we look at possibly having an area that they can put the money into reserve. Go ahead, Melissa.
So just to clarify, that's not surplus dollars. That's the amount that we budget in our municipal budget each year, and that's like they collect the revenue and then they give it to us because it's in our budget. So they do a transfer once a year for all of the revenue that they collect, and they just give it back to us.
Okay, so it's covered in their budget already? So we're not taking from their revenue?
Yes. No,
Okay, good, because I was like, wow, like that's a lot of money from a small budget, and then we're taking it back, but it's already been, okay, great, then.
Yeah.
Mark out everything I just said. Thank you for that, Melissa. Okay, that was the only question I had, but I still say hats off to the library for staying in budget then. Okay, and if I can get if there's no more comments, I put that motion to a vote to accept the report or the minutes. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Okay, 15.1, COVID-19 community update. If I can get a mover and a seconder. Move Grego Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the CAO-SR-2022-08 COVID-19 Community Control Group Update Report as prepared by Gail Jeremy, Cio Clerk. Gail, would you like to speak to your report before we open up for question or comments from the floor?
Sure, thanks. Just to add to what's already on there is, I'm sure, well, I did forward it to everybody, but I'm sure you saw anyway, that the province has announced that on the 21st of March, they're going to be lifting all the remaining restrictions for masking and capacity limits and such. So just wanted to highlight that. But I don't really have anything else to add, I don't think, to the report. As you said, the concern in the letter that we received has now been addressed with the action taken on Tuesday. So I'll be happy to take any questions though, if you have any.
Okay, the first question, are we going to follow up with a letter? Is that the communication will follow up a letter for our residents? Okay, great. The only question I have is, and I put this to council, I have said this at the community control group. So I put the community into emergency back in 2020 at the end of March, beginning of April. I can't remember the exact date right now. But I have said at the group, I would like to lift that. I'm thinking at the beginning of April. In our emergency management plan, it does talk about a debrief meeting. So I would like to end the emergency and have that debrief meeting with all of our people at our table. And it might be a good benefit to submit a letter to have the province, or I don't know, the federal government, someone to look at the whole pandemic and support that so that it's better the next time we go through this. Hopefully it's not in my lifetime. So is there any comments on the lifting of the emergency for our community? Okay. Any further comments for Gail or her report, or questions for the community control group? No? Okay, I put it to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that's great. Okay, ball field relocation. Dwayne, would you like to speak to your report?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I did put down 3 inches of crushed A gravel. I'm not really confident that's enough for drainage, but I tried to go as economical as I possibly could. And secondly, with all the gas and fuel increases too, that's going to change a lot of the pricing.
Okay, any questions or comment for the Public Works Manager on the relocation? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Dwayne, can you repurpose the current fencing, home run fencing, that is still in good condition? I mean, some is excellent quality still, and some is not so much. That could be quite a savings. I'm sure you thought of that as well. To repurpose much as you can, please. Thank you.
That is the plan, to use all of the fencing again and with some additional fencing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Councillor Karoff, go ahead.
Do I still understand the sod is being planned for the year later, next year?
From what you guys have told me so far, it sounds like that's where we're going. Right now, the price, I might be able to get better pricing on that, but right now it's 61 cents a square foot.
Just growing grass isn't going to be enough, or what?
That's a decision you have to make.
Well, I put a question out there. If we tried to grow grass first, we could always get sod if we were horrible at growing grass, right? I'm putting it out there. I'm telling you, the community will laugh us out of town if we can't grow grass.
Yeah.
I hate to set you up, Dwayne, but
I really think trying to grow grass, putting grass seed down first would be a logical attempt.
okay. Do you think there would be a huge expense to that, Dwayne? I see you smirking. What are you thinking?
I have to figure it out. I haven't calculated that out at all. So
Okay.
I'm sure it'd be significant savings.
What, Councillor Stefanik?
Yeah, I have a bit of experience in parks. Number one, you're going to have much more tonnage of black earth. Number one. Number two, you're going to have much more greater watering staff time. It is not as same as sod. You put your sprinkler system on, you put it on a timer. This is much more care taken, and that means the park would have to be closed at least first year, possibly second year. Hollinger Park and Tim has ran into a problem 3 years ago, and they went to sod. So, other question, I would never support grass growing. I would go to the sod. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Dwayne, go ahead.
That also changes the amount of topsoil too, because I need more topsoil to grow grass.
Okay, so in our discussion though, Dwayne, we did with our budget was we did have discussion about any of the items that could be put off to next year so that we level out this expense over 2 years.
Mhm.
But I do think council, we would like to see it usable. I'm not sure for the goal this year, would it even be usable, or should we wait to do the sod at the beginning of next year?
By all logic, it's going to take me most of the summer to get this all organized, mainly because we have the pavilion park starting off first. We're trying to get that usable and then work on this afterwards. So it's going to take me most of the summer, August, September, before I'm all done anyway.
Okay, so I think that would be definitely an indication then. If we were to put sod at the beginning of next year, is it actually usable, or do we have to put that sod on this year?
I might have to swing that one to Drago. We've got more experience with sod, but I'm assuming we'll be able to use it the same year.
Drago, do you know? Go ahead,
To be
Councillor.
100% sure that the sod is not ruined through playing, especially if you have a lot of teams, you would have to leave it a year as non-users and continue water, cut grass, maintain it, and then you're assured that the sod catches properly at the underneath as well as the top. That would be the best solution, in my opinion.
Okay.
Can I say something here, Madam Mayor?
You can. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker.
I agree with what Councillor Stefanik is saying, mainly to keep everybody off, but from experience of putting sod down a few times, that is the best time of the year is to put it in the fall, because it roots through the winter, and come spring, your watering situation is taken care of for the good part, and to give that the best chance at a good life and a healthy turf is to put it down in the fall.
Okay, so we need to think about that in our budget deliberations, because just currently we were talking about putting that sod off to next year. And we're also going to be having discussions about our arena improvement project. Will the area even be able to be used during that time? Are we planning on that? I put that to Dwayne or Gail. Has that been a discussion?
I can't see why we couldn't. That ball field should be able to be used.
Okay. Gail, did you have a comment? No? Okay. Okay, so any further questions on Dwayne's report? So in your estimation, Dwayne, with the increased fuel prices and the extra grade A gravel, did you do any calculations on what that extra gravel is going to be?
Actually, it was double when I originally put it out there, and then I cut it in half. So it was actually $44,000.
Okay, and why did you do that?
Trying to keep costs down, but I'm trying to have enough drainage to make sure that we don't have a water problem.
Okay. So we're looking at about double of the grade A gravel. And then we're gonna probably increase the cost by a certain percent. Okay. Okay, we'll deal with that at budget.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently we're gonna have a great March 23rd. Okay, I put, sorry, I should have got a mover and a seconder to accept this report. No one wants to accept it. Moved by Councillor John Perrow, second by Councillor Belinda Kissmaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the PWD 22-04 baseball field relocation estimates report as prepared by Dwayne Goodrow, Public Works Manager. Any further discussion? There being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Okay, moving on to 15.3, council community or committee updates, and I'm just going to go around the table. I'll start on the phone. Councillor Kistemaker, Peter, do you have any committee updates?
No, I have nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor John Peroff.
No, I don't have anything at this time either.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Drago Stefanik.
Just a couple items. The PHU Board of Health is continuing our meetings. Library Board is continuing meetings. And I was going to respectfully suggest, I said about 2 hours ago, we should seriously look at as council April 13th, face-to-face meetings. I see other councils going back into face-to-face, something to consider by council and the mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think April 13th, just as you bring that up, Drago, we should decide, because we put deliberations off or onto another meeting on the 23rd when we were supposed to adopt our budget. Do we want to set a special meeting now or do those deliberations and set a special meeting after? Or if we don't need further deliberation, we can just adopt it at the 13th meeting. So my suggestion would be is let's have the goal that we're going to adopt at April 13th. If for some reason it goes askew on March 23rd, we'll set a meeting date at that time. Is that permissible? Gail, do you think that would work? Yes? Okay. And as far as in-person meeting on the 13th, if all the restrictions are lifted, Gail, is that a possibility?
Sorry, I'm having trouble reaching. My mic is not clicking on when I click it. But yeah, I don't see why not if all the restrictions are lifted.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'm wondering, can we do that on the March 23rd meeting then as well?
If that's what council wants, we can certainly do that.
Okay, we'll just get consensus now. Council, do you want to meet in person on March 23rd? Yes, yes. Peter on the phone, what do you think?
Agreed.
Agree? Okay. We're in person the 23rd. Oh, go ahead, Gail.
Just another comment. Deputy Clerk has just reminded me that OGRA conference is taking place during April 20th. You'll be at the OGRA conference, 3 of you, April 13th. So you, Dwayne, and Jen. So I'm not sure if you're able to participate. I can't remember if we discussed that or not, but.
Yeah, I had it in my letter that Councillor Stefanik would be chairing as deputy mayor, that meeting for me. Did everybody freeze?
No, I just was wondering about if you wanted to be there for the budget, if you wanted to be present for the adoption, that's all.
The adoption of the budget, myself personally, you're asking? If we're in a place where we're going to adopt and deliberations are done, no, I wouldn't need to be there for that. But if it's, if we're gonna put it off, then it won't be discussed at the 13th meeting anyway, because we'll put a special meeting date for that. Okay. Okay, Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, any committee updates? We kind of got sidetracked there with administrative duties.
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any updates right now, except what I've said throughout the meeting. I've had several meetings with different people and just bringing forth our community. I did do municipal matters with the CFNO this week, so I'll be on the Monday morning municipal matters. And we did have the NEOMA meeting today with the Northern Transportation Task Force, and I have said it many times and we'll say it again, please get your comments in. Looking ahead, you'll notice on Gail's report that we did do a delegation, Northeast Superior's Mayor Group. That's going to go in on Friday. And that's looking at trying to get drive test centers to our area with regular testing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the in-person conference, the Good Roads. So I'm really glad that we're going to be meeting in person too on March 23rd. So I'm happy about all that. Okay, moving on. I think that's it, unless you have questions for me. No? Okay, moving on. We have bylaw 17.1. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik. Second by?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1914, being a bylaw to enter into a funding agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne and Her Majesty the Queen in right of the Province of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs regarding the Rural Economic Development RED program, economic diversification and competitive stream for the sustainable approach to attract business, tourism, and labor project be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Any discussion on the bylaw? Okay, there being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor?
Yes.
And that is carried. Okay, there's nothing under 18, nothing under 19, 20. We're on to our adjournment. If I can get a mover and a seconder for confirmatory, please. Moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by John Paroff. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1915, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their regular meeting held on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. And our adjournment. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Stefanik, second by Councillor John Paroff. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at 9 p.m. on the dot. Those in favor?
Aye.
That is carried. Well, thank you. For
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
This conference is now